All right, guys. Here we are. It's the Wally Bites crew. I'm Ed.
Trevor.
And today we have a very special guest. If you remember, we're going to start these series of videos where we talk to influencers around the lake. Well, today we have Will Hazimof with Hooked Up Guide Service. We fished with Will several times before he became a fishing guide. And we've also fished with him while he was a fishing guide. And I can tell you that the experience was the same both times. I mean, we caught fish. It was great. We had good conversation. We're gonna talk to a number of people, whether it's home builders. We're gonna talk to people that brew beer, realtors. We're gonna talk to Towboat USA, hopefully. Today, though, we're gonna talk to Will himself. So Will, welcome to our little video series that we're doing here at Wally Bites. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you, if you don't mind, and tell us how you ended up at Lake Wallenpaupack.
Well, my name is Will. I moved up here. My grandparents had a house up here. That's what brought me up here. I used to come up a lot, weekends. Always was up here fishing, loved it. Ended up moving up here when I was about 17.
Okay.
15 years ago.
And you moved up here. You're married, correct? You have a wife, and did you meet your wife up here around this area or somewhere else?
Yep, in Honesdale.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. So we kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit, and we said that obviously you're a fishing guide now. Tell us a little bit about your roots. I mean, you said that you fished the lake before. I fished with you, and Trevor fished with you before you were a fishing guide, and you definitely know your stuff. But tell us a little bit about your passion for fishing, why you like fishing Lake Wallenpaupack, why you decided to become a guide. Some of that stuff I think would be helpful for our audience.
Yeah. Well, I always fish, I always fish for stripers in New Jersey where I grew up with my father, and I was just really always addicted to it. And then I moved up here, I was fishing little ponds, and then I realized, there's stripers in Lake Wallenpaupack. Oh, so then it just turned me on to it, and I just, it took years and years of practice of fishing them, and the rest is history pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, you're a good catcher. I mean, that's clear. But at the same time, we know, because we know you put a lot of time into fishing the lake. It's not like you just show up and get lucky sometimes. I mean, sure, that happens for everybody, but I mean, you're there fishing hard a lot, right?
Oh yeah. I fish it a lot. I mean, I'm on that water probably as soon as the ice is off every day until July. And then once July comes, maybe 4, maybe 5 times a week.
That's impressive. Trevor, I bet you wish you could fish that much, right?
I certainly do. I certainly do.
So Will, tell us a little bit about, you mentioned the striper, and we've talked about catch and release, so I know your feelings about it. But tell people out there about the striper population in the lake and about the challenges that, that species in landlocked, lake, kind of their survivability, their mortality rate. Like, tell us a little bit about your thoughts surrounding the stripers in the lake.
I mean, I've done research on it. It's really, you get a lot of mixed things. When you hear like, oh, the temperature's above 70, there's like a 90% chance that they don't make it. And, it's everything you read. It's hard to say, I mean, I know they don't reproduce in the lake. That's one thing. So we rely on the state to stock them in there. Obviously over the years, my opinion, I think the fishing is getting worse. All the people you talk to, they say it's better. So, I mean, it's hard to say.
And when you say worse or better, do you mean like as far as populations of the fish, or like what do you mean when you say better
Yeah,
or worse?
population. I mean, I feel like the population is declining over the years.
I mean, and again, we could guesstimate at what those things are, but could it be overfishing? Could it be less stocked fish? Could it be, people taking fish out of the lake? I guess it could be all those things, right?
All the above. Yep, all the above.
It's tough too. I mean, the life expectancy of striped bass is anything from 10 to 30 years. And that's in saltwater, right? So nobody really knows. I'm sure that, our friends at the state could tell us some more information, but it's tough to say how long these fish are going to live when they're landlocked like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think they live a long time or a good while, but I mean, again, when you're hooking them over and over and over again, in a sense.
Yeah.
And so that just really drives home the fact of, not only catch and release, but smart fishing, right? If your plan is catch and release, make sure you're using the right tackle, make sure you're using the right gear. Do everything you can to increase the chance of survival for that fish.
Yeah.
I know so often we catch these things and we want to hold them up and take all the pictures and keep them out of the water, but really it should be catch and get that fish back in the water as soon as possible. To live another day and get another trophy.
If you do research it, I mean, you'll see a lot about freshwater stripers, the rate with warm water.
It's not good.
It's not good at all. I mean, there's like, once that water starts hitting like 75 degrees, I believe there's like a 90 or 95% chance they will die. It's again, whether that's true or not, don't really know, but
yeah. Well, few people know this, but when I've caught stripers with Trevor in the summertime, he makes me literally swim them back down to the bottom of the lake, or he doesn't let me back on the boat.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
It's we take it very seriously. So Will, about fishing guides, just a couple of questions. So obviously there's, a lot of options around the lake. We work with you, which is, again, we're friendly with you, we're friends with you, but we also work with you. Why should people, in your own words, why should people consider, when they're picking a fishing guide, like, one, what are some things that they should look for? And two, why should they consider working with Hooked Up Guide Service?
I would say depending on their types of fishing, you have guys that troll, you have guys that cast, you have guys that use live bait. For me, it's all artificial baits. We do a lot of casting, usually shallow fishing.
So for you, like for you, so I'm stranger to the lake and I'm looking and researching, I want to make a lot of casts. Like what are some of the things that you think you bring to the table, and why somebody should book with you? And we're not trying to put you on the spot. I just think it's important that people to know, like, we know a lot of these things. I could answer this question, but I'm just curious to hear what you're going to say.
Just curious, huh? Just my biggest goals, have a good time, catch fish is number one, hopefully.
Yeah.
But, conditions, weather, everything plays a factor in it.
And I know you're so safety too, right? Like you're pretty safe guide. I mean, I know there's a lot of rules, but I know that you've also said, hey, weather looks bad, we're not going to go out. So for you, I think, again, I've fished all over the place, and I know there's guides out there, not particular to Lake Wallenpaupack, but they're all about just making the money. They don't care whether the person has a good time. They don't care if they catch fish. It's all about the money. But for you, I think, it is a lot about the experience that you provide to the people that book with you. You want them to have a good time. You want them to enjoy the lake. You want them to see and experience what the lake has to offer. And I think too, you want those people to come back. I mean, those things are all true, right?
Come back, yep.
Yeah.
I think one of the unique things about most of the guides on our lake, but you especially, Will, is, anybody, whether you have zero fishing experience or you've been, trying to learn the lake for years, anybody could go out and fish with you, have a good time. You'll teach them everything they need to know. Maybe they've never casted a rod before. You've got all the gear, everything that the only thing they need to bring is themselves really onto your boat, and a good attitude.
And a PA fishing license.
And a PA fishing license, of course.
Yep. Support the state. They want their money.
Yep.
So, Will, you brought up an interesting thing about catching fish. So, do guides always catch fish on trips?
Not always, most of the time.
And what happens typically? Like, I guess it depends on the person and the guide, right? Like, if somebody doesn't catch a fish, kind of what happens at that point. And then also, I'll let you answer that, but then also tipping. I think a lot of people have questions about tipping, like, do guides accept tips? Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, yeah, I mean, we get tipped a lot, you know,
And
not
that's
every
an
time, but
and that's an important part, I imagine, of like the whole process for you, right? Because there's expenses associated with it, your time, and
yeah,
you're providing a service. So tips are accepted by most of the guides.
correct.
Okay. And then if somebody doesn't catch a fish, what happens then? Like, is that how do you let me ask you a question? And this is maybe putting you a little bit on the spot, but I know you feel bad about it.
Oh, of course, it's terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
it happens. Unfortunately, you know, it's fishing, it's not catching. I mean, I did 100% put you in the right spot. I mean, sometimes you just can't get them to eat. You know, most of the
Yeah.
time you do pretty well. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
straightforward with people. You know, if it's something comes through a cold front, the fishing shuts down. You know, I tell people straight out. You know, the fishing this week has been slow. It's entirely up to you. I completely understand. I mean, I'm not about taking people's money for no reason.
No doubt. And I believe that wholeheartedly about you. And I'm telling you, the fish are finicky in this lake when the fronts are moving in and out. It's it's so tough.
Yeah.
Um, I think so. I asked about tipping. We talked a little bit about, guided trips. Trevor, was great, was saying like people can just show up. They don't need fishing rods. They don't, other than their PA license, they don't need anything. And I know you love catching stripers. So would you say that catching a striped bass, pure or hybrid, is kind of like that's your most fun experience on the lake?
No, absolutely. For me, you know, I'm
And
completely addicted to it.
and
I,
what's next for you? Like, what's second best to catch? Is it the walleye? Is it a smallmouth? What's on the list?
Second.
Striper second and third.
Yep. Yep. I'd
Okay.
have to say stripers again.
Fair enough. I know, and I know you're good at catching them. So Trevor and I think we probably have more success catching smallmouth bass, but we have a lot to learn yet about catching the stripers as frequently as you do.
Well, how about time of the year? I know you do a lot of ice fishing. I know that this winter has been really gracious in terms of cold temperatures and keeping the ice nice and thick and safe. Do you do guided tours in the wintertime?
Yes. Yep. Yeah,
So
I've
it's
been
no,
focusing on like smaller lakes because of the action of fish. You know, it's been better. Most people who want to go, they just want to catch fish, and you know that's obviously the goal.
what would you say is your busiest time? For those that are interested in trying to book a fishing trip through Hooked Up Guide Service, what would you say is the prime?
Which is striper and walleye season, which usually starts like say mid-April and ends obviously depending on water temperature. Because like I said, I do fish shallow, so once that water gets hot, they move out. But usually it goes until like mid-July.
And you're booking up, I imagine, right? So,
Yeah, I'm already
you know,
booking up, and
yeah.
I expect to be booked every day from April 15th till July 15th.
Oh, great. When am I going to get to go fishing now? um, well, Will, what you mentioned, and again, without giving away too many secrets, obviously, because I know people work hard, not only for their money, but they work hard to learn the lake. If somebody shows up to the lake and they're like, hey, Will, is there a lure that I could use or something that you could recommend that I could throw that gives me the best chance to catch a fish? Is there something you feel comfortable sharing?
Yeah, I mean, which is a discontinued lure now. I would more than happy to share that. Which is a Smithwick Glow, which unfortunately you can't get them anymore. But
Okay.
they used to be a really good lure.
Yeah, and those are the ones, if I'm not mistaken, that's like it's a 3 trebled setup,
Yes.
and they glow in the dark kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Smithwick's, man, they make some good lures. I guess we'll have to figure out what the next big lure is that we can use and throw to catch fish.
every
Well,
year.
I've been using topwater frogs for the entire 2020, and it hasn't been very successful. Would you say that's a bad idea?
No, I'd say keep at
All right.
it.
Told you those top water frogs were good, Trevor. Um, so Will, we know you own a boat. You have to have a boat. So tell us a little bit about your boat. I know. Go ahead, shoot.
It's a 2019 Alumacraft. It's a 18-foot 8 with 115 horse Yamaha on it. It's basically a bass boat.
And how many people can you fit on there?
So for my trips, I don't really like to take more than 2 adults out. Obviously, if it's like 2 adults and a kid or something, I would consider the trip, but I could take up to 5. But again, that's going to depend on where we're fishing, what we're fishing for, who's in the boat, as in like adults and kids.
Okay.
That 5 includes me.
Good answer. Good answer. All right. So Will, this one's going to challenge you a little bit. Tell us one of your fondest memories on the lake. Something that's jumps out at you that you remember that excited you, or just something that you'd love to share.
Well, I got 2.
Okay, go ahead.
I remember one where a guy lost the biggest fish I've ever hooked.
Okay. So I mean, we can tell the audience that you're referring to me fishing in frigid temperatures that you made me go out in, and then
second or third, and when you almost fell in the water to net them.
Yes, that is all true. I'm going to admit that was me. I felt bad, and you continue to remind me about my poor netting job with your largest striper. But I will redeem myself at some point in the next 5, 6, 10 years.
Okay.
And what's your other memory?
Fishing with my sister and brother-in-law out on the lake. I remember my sister Cass. She shoots at the shoreline. All of a sudden, striper grabs it. Line just whizzing out. Thing turns at the boat. She throws the pole down in the boat, thinking the fish is gone because these things are very quick. She throws the pole in the boat. Next thing you know, I hook up. So now I got a fish on. I'm reeling one in. I yell at her to pick her pole up and just keep reeling. Well, she keeps reeling. That striper was there. It was on the other side of the boat already.
Holy cow!
We're fighting stripers back and forth. It was a good time.
He's lucky that rod didn't go right into the water.
I know. She throws it right in the middle of the boat.
Hey,
all my rods are St. rods. They're expensive. She throws this, I don't know, $200 fishing pole down in the boat. So it was a good time.
It is amazing. I mean, you mentioned the expensive side of the sport. Gear, I think what I've learned is gear is really important, and unfortunately good gear is expensive. So I know, you invest a lot back into the gear that you use. And I mean, it's not like somebody's going to show up with you and they're getting, rods and reels from, 2007. I mean, we're talking about top of the line stuff, right?
Correct. Yep. All St. Croix rods. I use all Penn reels. Yep.
So my last question, and maybe Trevor has a few more, I don't know, because we kind of do this on the fly, to be honest with you, but how do people get in touch with you if they want to book a trip between, let's say, as soon as the ice melts and, into July timeframe?
Yeah. I mean, you can find me at walleybites.com through their booking site there. You can get me at Hooked Up Guide Service, or what is it? hookedupguide.com. My phone number at 570-251-0476, or on Facebook.
All right, cool. Trevor, do you have anything else for Will that you want to throw out there and see how he handles it?
I was actually my last question to him was going to be, how can people get in touch with you? Because again, you said you're booking already, and I imagine it's going to be a busy year, with 2020 the way it was, and no real immediate end in sight going into 2021. I have a feeling fishing this year is going to be just as popular, just as strong as it was last year. So is it fair to say that if they're interested in booking a trip with Will, with yourself, that they should do so sooner rather than later?
Yeah, I would say if start booking between April to, middle of May, I would say you still be able to get in.
Okay. I have another one. It just popped into my head, and this is how these things happen. But tournaments. I saw some pictures last year. Are you fishing in any kind of tournaments? Any details that you can share about that? I saw many big fish that you caught, and it was impressive.
Yeah, I fish just it's Lackawanna Bassmasters. It's just a small little club that fishes out of Lake Wallenpaupack.
I think I saw you placed top 3 a lot of times. I saw every time I opened up Facebook, I would see pictures of you holding huge largemouth bass.
Yeah, large and smalls.
Yeah, a lot of smalls too.
Yeah, big smalls. So that's the thing. I think people don't realize.
Well, they also don't realize that we spend, when we go for those fish, we're fishing 8 hours all night long. We start at 10 p.m. We fish till 6, 7 in the morning.
Yeah. So it's hard work. I mean, and again, it goes back to the original point of putting your time in, learning the lake, learning the conditions, finding the fish. Do you want to, when we get off of here, Will, you're going to call Trevor and I and tell us all the secret spots around the lake, right?
Yeah, I'll send you a map.
Well, listen,
I'll upload them to the site and then ask you to take them down.
Well, listen, man, it's always a pleasure talking to you. And in all seriousness, man, you've been a good friend. I think you've helped us a lot around the lake. So we really appreciate that. And we wish you the best. We wish Danielle, your wife, the best in 2021. And I hope you keep seeing tight lines all year long, and I hope the bookings keep coming for you. So thanks for carving out some of your night with us. You want to find or book Will Hazimof with Hooked Up Guide Service. He told you how to do it. So have at it. Good luck, bud. And thanks a lot again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will.
See you guys.